I'm Jennifer Murphy with the Marietta Police Department. The Marietta Police Department wants to equip you with the skills and knowledge to prevent you from becoming a victim of a crime of opportunity. This series, Don't Be a Victim, allows you to hear from our expert officers. We'll help you identify issues in our community and will offer suggestions and directives to keep you, your family, and your neighborhood safe. As we make our way through the city from one end to another, whether we are in the car, walking, running, or riding a bicycle, we all must learn to share the road and obey traffic signs and laws. Today, Officer Michael Gardner, Officer Amy Valente, and Officer Justin Davis will share some safety tips to make you aware and keep you safe as you travel on our sidewalks and roadways.
Most of the calls that I go on with pedestrians is once they've been hit by a car or grazed by a car that caused some kind of serious injury or even death.
Some of the most dangerous areas in Marietta for pedestrians are Powder Springs at Sandtown, South Marietta Parkway at the CCT transfer station, as well as Franklin Road. Well, those areas have a lot of pedestrian traffic in addition to a lot of vehicle traffic. For instance, at the CCT station, there's crosswalks, but people fail to use them. And so they're crossing in between the crosswalks, and with the amount of traffic that's out there, sometimes the first driver will see you, but the second one won't.
Pedestrian law is very simple. Stay on a sidewalk, cross on a crosswalk. If there's no crosswalk available or within a reasonable walking distance, cross only when it is safe to do so. The majority of accidents that involve pedestrians are usually the pedestrian's fault because they're improperly on the roadway when they should not be, whether it be jaywalking or running across the road. They're not supposed to be in the lanes of travel while vehicles are coming. They do have the right of way in crosswalks when they have the walk indicator light, but the rest of the time, the roads are for cars.
Well, the first thing is to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings. You need to look to the right and look to the left. The second is to be aware of the time of day. You know, if it's nighttime or if it's getting dark, it's hard for drivers to see you, especially if you're in all dark clothing. Making sure that you're in light visible clothing or that you have something reflective on.
The most important thing is for pedestrians to stay off the roadway, and if they are going to cross, they need to cross in a crosswalk.
Crosswalks are typically set up at the corners of roads. Those crosswalks have signals which are tied to the street lights. You want to make sure that you use those. Even if the crosswalk has a little glowing white band on there, says that you can cross the road, you want to make sure that you make eye contact with the drivers that are there. Make sure they know that you're about to step in front of them.
When you're crossing multiple lanes, you need to make sure that each motorist in each lane sees you and yields to you prior to entering that lane. Just because the first lane sees you doesn't mean that everybody else does.
When crossing a roadway, then there's no crosswalk available. It is best to try to do it at an intersection where the vehicles are more likely to see you and stop when the vehicles do not have the right of way. If the light's red, you can cross at that time at a safe time. If it's at a stop sign, when the vehicles come to a stop, you can cross at that time. However, if you're crossing a roadway and there is an intersection available, you can be cited for it for jaywalking. The definition of jaywalking is being outside of a crosswalk in the roadway when a vehicle is coming.
In the city of Marietta, you're not allowed to walk on the highway. You want to make sure you stay off the highway all the time. The other thing is that where there's a sidewalk provided on our other side streets, you're required by law to use those sidewalks. When you're walking with your children, you want to make sure that you've got control of them all the time, especially if your child's under the age of 10 years old. You want to make sure that you have them by the hand. As a driver, some of the things that you want to keep in mind are that pedestrians, they can come out of anywhere at any time. Especially in bad weather, you really need to keep an eye out for them. You know, pedestrians should be wearing yellow, but not all of them will wear, light, bright things that you can see, especially when it's raining. You also want to be mindful that when a vehicle stops for pedestrians, you don't want to pass that vehicle, and you always need to stop for a school bus. And in school zones, whether the lights are blinking or not, you really need to slow down and pay attention. You know, here in the city of Marietta, we have a lot of apartment complexes. You really want to keep in mind that while you're driving, that kids can dart out in front of you at any time. There's not a lot of room for them to play, and so they ride their bikes in the parking lots and around the apartment complex areas. And kids, you guys want to remember that while you're playing in the apartment complexes, that you guys keep an eye out for cars, because sometimes it's hard for them to see you.
If you do decide you're going to ride a bicycle, you need to ride with traffic in the right-hand lane, not on the sidewalks, and you do have to yield to pedestrian traffic. You have to obey all laws, just like a motor vehicle does. And if you decide you're going to cross the street with your bicycle, you do need to walk it across the crosswalk. And we recommend that everyone wears a helmet, but by law, you only have to wear it if you're under 16.
So bicycle riders want to remember that they're required to obey traffic laws. They need to make sure that they have a white light on the front of their bike and a red light on the rear of their bike. And they want to make sure that they're visible as well.
The majority of pedestrian accidents are not minor accidents like a fender bender would be. When a person gets hit by a vehicle, it is a very serious injury. A vehicle traveling at speed, even if that speed is as small as 30 to 35 miles an hour, can and usually is fatal. If it's not fatal, it seriously injures a person, sometimes for the rest of their lives.
It's a lot easier for you to get out of the way than the car to get out of the way.
The National Center of Statistics and Analysis state that on an average, a pedestrian is killed by an automobile every 109 minutes. In 2008, there were over 4,000 pedestrians killed and 69,000 pedestrians were injured. So while you are walking, biking, or even driving, stay alert for others. Take advantage of the crosswalks and be safe. Don't become a statistic. So until next time, don't be a victim.